everybody, how are you all doing today? Back again with some Blender and Krita. Gonna continue with documentation today a bit more, and hopefully next time I actually start trying out making something on both Blender and Krita. But right now we're starting off as usual with the Blender section. For those you looking at the VOD, that's the only part you need to worry about. Since both parts of the stream will get separated into their own little video. Well, quote unquote little. And as for what you're saying there, God, God, whatever. I cannot probably read it, sorry. Got over got over everything 01. Hopefully I got that right. I do have a Discord channel and with several topics where we can chat and get to know each other. Just go hop on right on over and pick a channel and we can talk there. I reserve the DMs for when absolutely necessary. Well, before I start commissioning anyone, which honestly I would be commissioning someone if I had the money, but right now it's not an option for me. And let's see, and share whatever it is you make as well. Like I do have an art section. I have a creators corner down below. I do need to expand upon it. I got promotion, I got art, I got the clip section. I do want to add more stuff to it. I just haven't thought of what I can add to it yet. But anyways, I already got documentation ready, at least for Blender right now. Where we're gonna continue looking at the editor part of things and get the music going, because for some reason YouTube bugged out. I think I've had this one before on. Oh, come on there, what the hell's wrong with YouTube right now? Get the music going automatically, would ya? Hopefully the music's not too loud. And let's see. I'm going to lower it from my headset because it's a bit loud on my headset though. Where did we left off last time? Last time we did the whole snapping part, and I don't think we did I think we got to the proportional editing, but we didn't look at it. No, we definitely did not look at this, because I don't recall actually reading or seeing any of this. It's something I might actually need to learn if I intend to make anything in Blender, which hopefully next time I might actually open it and actually start doing things there, which is I really want to start making things on both Blender and Krita. I just haven't decided on what. Maybe anyone that does and is on my Discord channel, in my Discord server, maybe on the arts channel, leave a suggestion of what should be the first thing I make over on Blender. Something simple that I can start as for practice. Now let's see. Proportional editing. Header via this icon. Hotkey O. Okay. Right. I forgot. I don't think. No, I don't have the desktop audio on. What a dumbass I am. Sorry about that. The desktop audio should be working right now, and the music should be coming through now. Once YouTube decides to fix itself. Let's see. Proportional editing is a way of transforming selected elements, such as vertices, while having that transformation effect Information affect other nearby elements. For example, having a movement of a single vertex cause the movement of the unselected vertices within the given range. Let me position myself a little better. Unselected vertices that are close to the selected vertex will move more than those further from it, i.e., they will move proportionally relative to the location of the selected element. Since proportional editing affects the nearby geometry, it is very useful when you need to smoothly deform the surface of the dense mesh. Note, Blender also has sculpting that contains brushes and tools for proportionally editing a mesh without seeing the individual vertices. Okay, that's actually good to know. So in sculpting mode, I can't see the vertices, but I can still edit them in some way, shape, or form. Controls. Disable Alt-O. Proportional editings of only selected vertices will be affected. Enabled, same way, vertices other than the selected vertices are affected within the radius. Okay. You influence. You can increase or decrease the radius of the tool's influence during the transformation. Transform operations. Sorry about that. Without mouse wheel. Interesting. Or page up and down. I'm happy with the mouse wheel actually. Respectively. As you change the radius, this point surrounding your selection will adjust their position accordingly. So if I want to adjust a little bit, make it more for a large area, just make it big. Now let's see. Fall off. While editing, you can change the curve profile with the curve profile used by either using the header icon fall off menu or by pressing Shift O to toggle between the various options. There's a constant fall off, which can't really tell what this is doing. The random fall off, which I guess I could use that to make mountains of some sort. The randomness might actually help. Linear fall off, easy pyramid, I guess. Or something along those lines. A sharp fall off, which is interesting. Root fall off. Kind of just an inverted sharp, I guess. Sphere fall off, which is more drastic by the looks of it. Smooth fall off. Guess I could use that to make some hills. Inverse square fall off. Okay, this one I actually can't tell what it's just doing. Just looks like a fatter smooth. It's like somewhere in between smooth and sphere. But why square? Can't really tell what it's doing, at least not on this angle. I kinda wish we could explain the effect. Like I said, this looks like just a middle point between these two, but I can't really tell what it's exactly doing? Because his name says square, but this doesn't look like a square at all. What was this? Object mode. Proportional editing is typically used in edit mode. However, it can be used in object mode. In object mode, the tool works on entire objects rather than individual mesh components. Okay. In the image below, the right cylinder is called along. Wait, no. Let me start over. In the image below, the right cylinder is scaled along the z-axis when the proportional editing is enabled. The adjacent cylinders are also within the tool radius of influence. Yes, it's bigger in the middle and the further away from it just smaller. Except for what's outside of it, which is straight up not affected by it. Like, a better explanation would be necessary. Yeah, it does mean it can be done, but what exactly does it do? Give me a second, I just got a message on my phone. Let's see. That got me a bit off track, sorry. I just needed to look at that message. It was from family. Edit mode. When working with dense geometry, it can become difficult to make subtle adjustments to the vertices without causing visible lumps and creases in the model's surface. When you face situations like these, the proportional editing tool can be used to smoothly deform the surface of the model. This is done by the tool's automatic modification of unselected vertices within the range. So here they moved it without it, then they selected it and moved it again, and they didn't move it. It just corrected itself. That little pause there was just because I need to drink some water. Actually, it is summer for me right now where I'm at, so I'll be drinking water every so often. Options. Connected only, rather than using radius. Only, which is not explained yet here. The proportional fall-off spreads via connected geometry. This means that you can proportionally edit the vertices in a finger of the hand without affecting the other fingers. Okay. While the other vertices are physically close in 3D sphere. Okay. These are far away, following the topological edge connection of the mesh. The icon will have a blue center, then when connected is active. This model is only available in edit mode. Okay. I kinda didn't understand what that was meant, what I was trying to say. Because it says radius only, but it didn't explain what radius only is. Is that the default or something? I also don't really have an image showing an example of how that works. I'll have to probably look up an example of how that actually works. Projected from view. Depth along the view is ignored when applying the radius. So looking in this direction, they edit in. This is what it looks like when they move the camera. But in this case, it was different. Like it moved this whole thing like it was a piece of paper. Example. The image below shows the final render of a low poly landscape obtained by moving up the vertices of the triangulated grid with enabled proportional editing. Which, I'm not gonna lie, this looks nice. I do see this would be used on a game with low poly graphics. And oh, that was it for what was that part? For controls. And I guess we're moving on to display, I guess. This is still within the editor section of Blender, so well, let's see. Object types visibility. In the objects types visibility popover, the visibility and selectability per type of object can be specified. This will limit the visibility and selectability of per 3D object. The object type that can be changed are mesh, curve, surface, meta, text, grease pencil, armature. I don't think I pronounced this properly. Lattice. How do you pronounce this? I have no idea how to pronounce this word. I don't know what it is. Empty, light probe, camera, and speaker. When visibility is turned off, any object of this kind will not be rendered in the 3D viewport. When selectability is turned off, any object of this kind will not be selectable via the 3D viewport. Viewport gizmo. I think we're like getting a more detailed stuff of some thing we saw an overview, like I think it was on user interface, something like that. If we did get an overview of something like this, the way how gizmos are displayed in the 3D viewport can be changed in the viewport gizmo popover. There is a switch to turn off all the gizmos of the 3D viewport. Viewport gizmos. Negative. Enable, disable the negative. The navigation gizmo. Oh, navigate, not negative. Where did I get the negative? It's navigate. Of which I don't know why you would disable it. Active tool. Enable, disable the gizmos of the active tool. Active object. Enable, disable the gizmos of the active object. Object gizmos. Orientation. The orientation to use the gizmos can the gizmo. The orientation can be configured in the viewport orientation. Orientation. Maybe I guess that's somewhere else. Move shows the gizmos to control the location. Rotate controls the rotation. Scale. That's self-explanatory. Empty. Gizmo settings for empties. Image shows the gizmos to adjust the image size and position of emptiness. Force field shows the gizmos to adjust the force field. Okay, I might need a better explanation of what this would actually be, like what this actually is doing, or I need to look up an example. Because I don't really, I feel like there's a lot of information missing. What this actually is used for, or how it even works. An example would have been useful. Light gizmo settings for light. Size shows the gizmo to adjust the size of lights. Look at shows the gizmo to adjust the direction of the light. Camera gizmo settings for camera lens shows the gizmo to adjust the lens and orthographic size. Focus distance shows the gizmo to adjust the focus distance. Okay, that felt very useless. That didn't tell me much about the gizmos. That almost felt like a waste of time, because I might need to experiment with the gizmos to properly understand it, or find someone that actually explains it with examples. That was very lacking. Viewport overlay. Using the viewport overlay popover setting for the overlay can be configured. There is a switch to turn off all overlays on the 3D viewport. The options that are visible in the popover depends on the mode that the 3D viewport is in. Object mode. The next options are always present, independent in the current mode. Guides. Grid shows grid in the orthographic side view, which I actually don't remember what that was. I forget what orthographic was. Floor shows the ground plane. XYZ shows the X or Y or Z axis. Line. Scale the distance between lines in the grid floor. Subdivision, the number of subdivisions between grid lines. Show information such as view perspective, playback FPS, current frame number, and the name of the active collection and objects. Statistics shows information about the amount of objects and geometry. Objects, number of the selected objects, and total count. Geometry displays the information about the current scene depending on the mode and object type. This can be the number of vertices, faces, triangles, or bones. HDRI preview. What the devil does HDRI stand for? Shows two spheres, one glossy and one diffused. To preview, HDRIs used in material preview and rendered shading modes. But it's not telling me what HDRI is. What? I don't think I've even heard HDRI. I hear HD and makes me feel almost like HDMI, like the cable, but HDRI, high definition render something, high definition render image. That's what I'm guessing. I'm not entirely sure actually. That's just a wild guess on my part. Which in that case, like, because that's what it feels like makes most sense in my perspective at least. 3D cursor shows the 3D cursor overlay. Annotation, show the annotation overlay. Object extra shows detail of objects including empty wire, camera, and other visual guides. Okay. Relationship lines shows dashes. Shows dashed lines indicating parent or constraint relationship. Outline selected shows the outline highlight around the selected object. Bone shows bones. Disable to only show their motion path. Motion path shows a motion path overlay, but doesn't tell me what motion path is actually used for. Origin shows the object origin of the active object. Origin all shows the object origin of all objects. I feel like motion path needs to be explained more because I don't know what motion path is referring to. Like, yeah, it definitely shows the motion path, but what is motion path? Like, does it tell me what it is? And let's just move on. Geometry. Wireframe shows the face edge overlay. Wireframe adjusts the number of wires to display. 0.1 means show all wires. Okay. I guess that would be useful if you're like trying to select something very specific, but you don't need all the wires to be visible at once. Or maybe helps to select multiple by reducing the number of wires that you use, using like a bigger surface area or something. That's just me just guessing. Let me join something. Sorry, needed to drink. Face orientation shows a face orientation overlay. The face orientation overlays all faces where the face normal point towards the camera are colored blue. All faces are the face normal point away from the camera are colored red. With this overlay, it is easy to detect the orientation of the face normals. Motion tracking shows a motion tracking overlay. Camera path shows a reconnection camera path. Okay. Marker names shows the names of reconstructed track objects. Tracks changes the display of the reconstructed tracks. Plane axis, arrows, single arrow, circle, cube, sphere, cone. Okay. Size changes the display size of the reconstructed tracks. I don't think I understood that properly. This is more for animation, I guess, which I haven't gotten to. Animation is actually quite a ways in. Where was it? Here it is. Animations and rigging, which is I'm gonna have to look at that once I get you something that needs to be animated or something. Which that's later down the line. I'm not gonna focus on it at all yet. Mesh edit mode. Like first I want to learn how to make something and maybe make several things to get the hang of actually modeling. Then I'll start looking into animation, which I'll probably come back to this and go through the animation and rigging section. If I have it to show you something, I'll probably come here and look for the other stuff and try and figure it out then. The next options are available when the edit mesh mode. Edges, highlighted, selected, and partially selected edges only affects vertex and faces selected mode, as edges are always highlighted and edges are in edges select mode. Excuse me. Faces highlights the faces using the face overlay that applies to both selected and unselected faces. Affects all selection modes. Okay. Center shows the face center point in solid shading mode. Only affects face selected mode, but face affects everything, doesn't it? And of course, cloud engine in the background. Sorry about that. Creases, I think that's how it's pronounced. Displays edges marked with the creases for a subdivision surface modifier. Okay. Sharp edges used with the edge split modifier. Bevel displays weights created for the beveled modifier. This means this is going to be explained with more details elsewhere. Where, I don't know. Seams displays a UV unwrapping seam. Edge marks and face marks used by Freestyle, which I don't know how much Freestyle I will do. I'm also gonna try to look for some like templates to start off with. I don't know yet. But then when I start making something like a bit more complex. Shading. Hidden wire shows only front-facing wireframe. This is useful for the retopology workflow, which I don't know what retopology is. Tip: optionally, this could be contained with the X-ray display setting. Vertex group. Wait. Excuse me. Excuse me. I tried to hold that one in a little bit, as much as I could. Where was I? Alright, vertex group weight. Displays weights in edit mode. 0 weight to display unreferenced and 0 weight areas in black. This helps to identify areas with very low weight that has been painted into. None vertices are displayed in the usual way. Active shows in black vertices with no weight in the active group. All the vertices that shown in black if the 0 weight is all groups. Mesh analysis shows a mesh analysis overlay. See okay, so this is gonna be probably something long. That's why they gave it its own little section somewhere. And it's not here. It's probably here in modeling. Probably. Measurement. Numerical measurement of the selected element on screen as part of the text info overlay. The units can be set in the scene properties. Edge length shows the length of selected edges. Edges angle shows the angles of selected edges between two faces. Face area shows the area of selected faces. Face angle shows the angle of the selected face corners. Tip: geometry connected to the selection is shown while transforming, allowing you to move a vertex and see the connected edge lengths, for example. Note: these values respect global local. The global if you want the object scale to be applied to the measurement. Okay, normals. Display vertex normals, faces, normals at vertices, split normals, display face normals. Size, the size to show the selected normals. What is normals to be precise here? Like some kind of display it is. An example would have been great. I'm not gonna have to really mess with that. Developer in this again. English is not my main language. That's why some words are hard for me. English is actually my second language. So that's why when I do Unreal Engine with my friend Jim, he's the one reading it. He says English is his first and only language, as far as I know. Place the index of selected vertices, edges, and faces. Freestyle, of which I probably won't do anytime soon. Edge marks. Displays freestyle edge marks used with a freestyle render. Face marks displays freestyle face marks used with a freestyle render. Sculpt mode. Mask shows mask as overlay on objects. The opacity of the overlay can be adjusted. Face set shows face set as overlay on the object. The opacity of the overlay can be adjusted. I see like very little description on a lot of stuff. I would like a bit more detail on sculpt mode. Maybe that'll be explained more down in modeling, maybe? Maybe show some examples of how it works? Or maybe I'll just have to mess with that myself, which is why probably by next week I'm gonna have Blender open and Krita for the Krita section and try to make something. If you're watching about, leave a recommendation of what should be the first thing I make on Blender down in the description below, or if you're, or maybe on my Discord's arts section. Vertex paint opacity, the opacity of the overlay. Show wire. Use wireframe displays in paint mode. Weight paint opacity, the opacity of the overlay. Zero weight to display unreferenced and zero weight areas in black. This helps to identify areas with very low weight that have been painted onto. Okay. Excuse me. Oh, excuse me. Must have been what I ate. This is just feel like it's repeating itself. It's just repeating itself again. From which one was it? From this one, so it's pretty much repeating that. a mistake, maybe? I don't know. Let's skip this part because it makes no sense. Actually, I'm gonna read these actually at least. Show weight counters. Show counter lines formed by points with the same interpolate weight. Interpolated weight. There it is. Show wires. Use wireframe display in paint mode. Which I don't know why you would use that, or how you would use a wireframe since you cannot see the faces in wireframe mode, wouldn't you? Texture paint opacity. The opacity of the overlay. That's it. That's it for texture paint. Just opacity. Isn't there any other shenanigans for it? No? Okay. Pose mode. I'll probably be using this when I start messing with maybe characters or creatures or something, when I start to get to the more advanced stuff. Fade geometry shows the bones on top and face other geometries to the back. The opacity can be controlled with the slider. Okay. Grease pencil. Onion skin shows ghost of the keyframes before and after the current frame. Canvas displays a grid over grease pencil drawing plane. The opacity of the grid can be controlled with the slider when using the canvas X-ray. Options option objects are drawn behind the canvas grid. Fade layers decrease the opacity of all the layers in the objects other than the active objects. The opacity factor can be controlled with the slider. Hopefully we can use that for more than just that. Like maybe we want to make a ghost and we want to leave some of that opacity in some way, shape or form. Fade objects cover all viewports except the active grease pencil object with a full color layer to improve visibility while drawing over complex scenes. Fade grease pencil object includes or excludes grease pencil object. I really don't know what grease pencil would be. I'm no artist, so I don't know these sort of terms. I mean, a pencil's a pencil for me. Edit lines shows edit lines when editing strokes only in multi-frame. Shows edit lines only when using multi-frame editor, which hopefully they explain what multi-frame is later down the line. Be nice. Stroke directions toggles the displays of the stroke starts point green and end point red to visualize the line's direction. Material name shows material name next to the linked strokes. Vertex opacity for edit. Vertices. Vertex paint opacity, the opacity of the overlay. Yeah, I'm actually gonna skip this. This one I'm not really liking. Okay, what just happened? Okay, there we go. and I'll be right back. I actually need to go to the bathroom real quick, so I'll only be for a minute. So be right back, everyone. I'm back. Sorry about that. Okay. Let's start off with viewport shading, which this is going by quick. Like a lot of this is like very short explanations, and I feel like a lot of it is like missing information. I almost feel like just opening Blender right now and trying to make, I don't know, a table. Maybe a pot, a chair. That's the thing. I don't know what would be the recommended object to make for a first timer. Any recommendation would be welcome. And even if someone watching this live right now on the chat maybe gives the recommendation, then I'll just open Blender and give it a go. I don't know. And until I can decide, or somebody gives me a suggestion of what to make for the first thing, then I'll probably start it next week, making something on Blender. Like I said, I'd like to start something simple, but not too simple, like something that will actually make me practice. Let's see, the shading of the 3D viewport can be adjusted to match the task at hand. There are several modes to choose from. Note, the material preview option is not available when the render engine of the scene is set to workbench. Okay, that's good to know. Wireframe shows the full scene by only displaying the edges of the object's wireframes. Color single renders the whole scene using a single color. So I'm guessing something like gray or something along those lines, because I've seen some Blender streamers when they are modeling, and sometimes they're just like all gray. And even if they have color, they only have a way to go back to it at any given point. So I'm guessing that's what this is supposed to be. Objects. Use the color that can be set per object in the viewport display objects panel. A random color will be selected for every object in the scene, which I guess you would use this sort of to test how it works. I don't know how or why you would use random. Again, I'm no artist, so I don't know. background. How the background is displayed in a 3D viewport. Theme uses the background of the theme. World uses the world viewport display option. Viewport selects the custom color for the background in a 3D viewport. Options. X-ray renders the scene transparent. With the slider you can control how transparent the scene should appear. The wireframe mode of the opacity of the black wires can be adjusted. Outline renders the outline of objects in the viewport. The color of the outline can be adjusted. Okay. Solids shows the scene using in solid mode. This mode utilizes the Workbench engine to render the 3D viewport. The light, color, and options can be found in the Workbench render engine selection. Background, the way the background is displayed in the 3D viewport. Theme uses the background and of the theme, which really doesn't tell me much what this actually is. Like, where is these themes coming from? What themes are available? Or how do I even set it? It's telling me it's here, but how do I set it? Like, where in the menu would this be? World. Use the world viewport display option. Viewport selects the custom color from the background of the 3D viewport. Material preview renders the 3D viewport with Eevee and the HDRI environment. This model is particularly suited for previewing materials and texture painting. You can select different lighting conditions to test your material. It's actually something that can be very useful if I want you to like make something and see how it looks with light coming in from different directions. Lighting. Scene lights uses the lights in the scene when rendering the scene. Scene world uses the world of the scene when rendering the scene. When turned off, a world will be constructed with the next option. HDRI environment. The environment map used the light used to light the scene. Rotation, sorry about that. The rotation of the environment on the Z-axis. Strength, light intensity of the environment. World opacity. The opacity levels of the HDRI will be rendered as background in the 3D viewport. Blur factor to unlock the HDRI environment. Note that this does not change the diffusion of lighting, only the appearance of the colors. Render pass. Instead of the combined render, shows other render paths useful to analyze and debug geometry materials and lighting. Renders the 3D viewport with the scene render engine. For interactive rendering, by default the scene lights are used for lighting, and HDRI environment can be used as well. with the same option as preview mode. Render pass instead of the combined render used render shows another render pass useful to analyze and debugging geometry, materials, and lighting. Okay, since we haven't gone reached any debugging part, we know. And okay, we alright. This display, so I thought that display would be much longer. Oh well. I guess we're into the toolbar section of this. I guess we're finally gonna get to what grease pencil is, probably. But let's move along. Okay. And I'm already just analyzing the image that I'm looking at right now. Measure. The measure tool is an interactive tool where you can drag lines in the scene to measure distance or angles. Snapping to geometry could be activated for better accuracy, or to measure wall thickness. The measure tool can be accessed from the toolbar. I guess I could use this to determine the height of objects. Maybe to be a bit more realistic height, or maybe to take into consideration like character heights that I might make. For example, on a game I hope to one day make, but that's way down the future because it's gonna be some kind of RPG, and RPGs are not easy to make. Like if I want to make some objects on that game, none of my characters there are gonna be human, and they're all gonna be of different heights. Some are gonna be big, some are gonna be small, and I'm gonna need to probably use this to maybe get something like properly sized by default when I put it down, and I won't need to resize it as much unless I need to make something unique. Or maybe I'm making it for like to be repeatable and or reused in some way, shape, or form. But I do see myself, even for this will also be useful to determine the height of my characters properly. Let's see, examples of the measure tool. Usage. Here are some common steps for using the measure tool. Activated the measure tool from the toolbar. Click and drag in the viewport to define the initial start and end point of the ruler. You can add multiple rulers in the viewport. Let me fix the music real quick. There you go. Adjust it properly. Hopefully it keeps on working from here on. Click on either end of the ruler to select it and move the endpoints. Holding control while moving enables a snap to edges and vertices. A small circle appears and then when the endpoint is snapped to the vertex or edge. This way you can place the endpoint more accurately. That's good to know. Holding shift while moving lets you measure the distance between faces. This works well only with parallel faces, e.g. walls, or floors, or roofs, I guess. You can always navigate, pan, zoom, or change the view orthogonal perspective in the viewport to have a better access to the ruler. Click on the midpoint to create of the created ruler to convert it to a protractor. Move this midpoint to set the vertex of the angle. Holding down Control enables snap to edges and vertices. Move the endpoint to change the angle size. A selected ruler can be deleted by pressing delete or X to delete all measurements. Make the sidebar view annotation panel visible. Delete the ruler data 3D layer. See image above. You see image above, which I will see after reading this part. You can copy the measurement value to the clipboard. Control C. This is the layer they're talking about, like getting rid of this layer right here. All measurements are hidden when another tool is selected. They are shown when the measure tool is selected again. Yet you can do edit operations while the ruler is active. For example, you gotta fix music. You can edit the rotation or dimensions of the selected object in the sidebar. The measurement value do not appear in the render output until settings and grand scales from the scenes are used for displaying dimensions. Changing the unit system metric, imperial, or the units of length, centimeters, meters, or angles, degrees, radian, will update the measurements, which we have the metric system here, so none of that. Use this imperial one. Tip: the edit mode in edit mode only, there is also a measurement setting in the viewport overlay. Popover, edge length, edge angle, face area, and face angle can be disabled through this setting. Okay. Wait, what, already? Okay. Properties. Why do I feel like I just skipped a bunch of stuff? Oh, let me go back real quick. Okay. Did I just go from... Wait, I don't know about your toolbar. Yeah, it went from here? Like, skipped all of this just now. Unless it's all found somewhere else. I don't get it. Why does it go from here? If I hit next, why does it go from measurements, which is part of the toolbar, and just skips out of it? It like doesn't cover edit mode. Which, let me open this on the side to see where this takes me. Oh, that skips like far. Here's the option he's modeling, so why is this here then if I'm not supposed to be looking at this stuff yet? Is this weird. Like, I get measurement, but why have these here if they're not, if they don't do anything? It just goes out of the toolbar and into properties of the sidebar. Which fortunately is all covered right here, fortunately. So we should be able to go through this relatively quickly. Let me check how long I've gone since this so always between an hour and a half and 2 hours. Although I'm trying to keep it within the hour and a half, just in case. While Crete is just about an hour, sometimes less. At least for now. Maybe when I start to get drying, maybe I'll extend that a bit more. Same goes for Blender. Sidebar items shows transform settings of the active objects. Tools shows settings of the active tool and workbench. Okay, that's a repeated view. View panel. The view panel lets you set other settings regarding 3D viewport. You can show it with view properties, menu entry. Excuse me. Local length controls the local length of the viewport camera in the millimeters, unlike the rendering camera. Why millimeters? It's kind of weird. Might have to get used to that maybe. Clip start end. Adjust the minimum maximum distance range to limit the visible range to the area between two panels that are orthogonal to the viewing direction of the viewport camera. Objects outside the range will not be shown. Note, the definition of the two planes depends on the kind of view. Perspective view, the planes with distance of start and end from viewport camera. Orthographic view, the planes with distance of negative end and positive end from the focus point. In this case, the start is ignored. Why is it ignored? Warning, a large clipping range will allow you to see both near and far objects, but reduce the depth perception, resulting in artifacts. In some cases, a very large range may cause operations that depend on depth buffer to become unreadable. Through this depends on the graphics card and driver. Okay, that part kind of worries me. See, troubleshooting depth buffering glitches for more information. So if I start having issues, that's where I need to go then. Because I may have a GTX 960, which isn't great, which is why probably I was thinking maybe going for the... If I start doing modeling, maybe do a low poly or sort of low poly model. Or something along those lines. So as not to overwhelm my PC with both OBS and Blender and Crete as well. Although Crete is multi-duty, so I'm not too worried too much about there. I did have issues though with it last time. Hopefully I don't have those issues if it gets hands-on. Local camera. Use the local camera in this view. Select it from the object selector rather than the scene global active camera. Render region. Use the render region where not looking through the camera using Control B to draw a region will automatically enable this option. View lock. Lock to objects. Data ID that defines an object as the center of the view. In this case, the view can be rotated around or zoomed towards that central object, but not while you move the object itself. This option is not available in camera view. Okay, I think I get it. If I'm understanding this correctly, like, I will always be looking at it, regardless if I move the camera, it'll just be like orbiting around it, not really moving away from it. It'll just stay on focus, always on said object. Which I do see its uses, but I also do see its problems. When I want you to focus on something like very specific, then I don't want it to be focused on the middle of that. I want you to actually be able to move it more, have a bit more freedom of movement, which is something I probably feel more comfortable with. Lock. The 3D cursor locks to 3D cursor. Locks the center of the view to the position of the 3D cursor. It is only available when lock to object is not active. Camera to view. When in the camera view, all changes in the view, pan, rotation, zoom, will affect the active camera. The camera frame will be outlined with a red dash line. Charger holder in that, Leon. It's been a long day for me. The heat doesn't help. And this will move the camera's parent, which can be useful with camera rigs. Use a camera parent lock preference to change this behavior. Okay. 3D cursor location. The location of the 3D cursor. Rotation mode, like these sound very self-explanatory, so I'm not gonna read those. Collection. The collection panel shows the list of collections and can be used to control the visibility of collections in the viewport. If the collections contain objects, there is a circle to the left of the collection's name. If the collection is empty, there is no circle to the left of the collection name. I think... No, my headset was a bit loud. Although I'm not really liking this one. Okay, there, it stopped with a weird piano stop. That was getting weird. Sorry about that. Local collection allows this list of visible collections to be controlled per viewport rather than globally. Hiding viewport icon. Collections can be hidden in the viewport by clicking on the icon. By clicking directly on the collection's name, it isolates the collection by hiding all other collections and showing the direct parent and all the children of the selected collection. Also read more about collection. So collection has some little sections, which hopefully gets into it more detail once, if I ever come to need to go through that. Viewport render, which I guess is kind of cool. What is seeing right there? Viewport render uses the 3D viewport rendering for quick preview renders. This allows you to inspect your animatic for object movement, alternate angles, etc. This can also be used for preview or animation. In the event your scene is not too complex for your systems to play back in real time in the 3D viewport. Hey there, Cross-Color Returns, how you doing? Okay, this is in solid mode, like there's no textures, right? It's just random colors. Viewport rendering using material preview mode, which I guess is just simple textures in this case. And for render, it's all shadows and background and actual textures. I'm doing A-okay. Just learning Blender for hopefully maybe next Tuesday I'll actually use Blender and try to make something. I just haven't decided on what to make first, so if to practice. I don't want to make something too complex, I want to try and keep it simple, I just don't know what. Also not too simple, because I do need like the practice to try and get the hang of Blender. And later Krita, which this is just a Blender section which has about 10 more minutes. Maybe once I get through this whole section I'll move on over to Krita. I'll probably just do the YouTube outro and move on to that. Tip: disable overlay to render the viewport without any additional overlay. While this option is not specific, the viewport rendering it's often useful to enable, since it removes data such as rigs and empty that can be a distraction. You call yourself dumb on the title? Because I am a dumb dragon. I am no artist. I don't know how to do any of this. I have no idea what I'm doing. I do want to learn Blender and Krita, but my attempts at art outside of stream have all been horrendous. And I've never used Blender, to be honest. I'm clueless on how things work. That's why for starters, I've been reading through some of the documentation. I do understand, I think, a few things, but I think I'll understand them better once I actually start making something. I'm merely a programmer, not an artist, but I do feel like I need to learn this stuff. I want to learn this. And if I do, who knows, maybe I'll end up making like my own model, like my own avatar. Maybe on Krita I can start making some modes or things like that. You're dumb, but I mean you get it better at art. You already made a great model. Yeah, this model was made from a template using bits and pieces on a Chinese website. That you can probably tell like some of the parts don't even match the art style, but it's the best I could do with what I had available at that time. But I do want to update it. I do want to make something better. If I learn Krita, I can make a new 2D model maybe. If I learn Blender, maybe I'll make a low poly one, since I question my hardware for the 3D model. But I do still want to learn this. fine, but the model is... Thank you! It is the closest I managed to get to what I actually had in mind. It is like really close, at least on what's visible. I am hoping to make a full body of him eventually. Will say this, once I draw him, it's not gonna look good. Like I said, I use bits and pieces of existing art that was available on a Chinese website. I did translate the licensee, so I know I'm allowed to use it here. So that's why I'm not worried about any copyright or anything like that. Like, the licensee showed I can use it for this. I lost the website, unfortunately. I don't remember what the website was called or where I even found it. That was a long time ago. Like, around March, it's gonna be like 3 years since I've been streaming. Of which, probably the first month or two was with a camera, but then I switched over to a model, which I feel a lot more comfortable with. I hope so. I'm gonna get through this real quick so I can actually like finish up this Blender section and move on to the Krita documentation. And hopefully next stream on both Krita and Blender I can actually make something to start practicing. Hopefully. Who knows, maybe on the Krita part I'll try to draw something to use for TTS. I've been trying to set that up for the V-Stream alerts, but maybe I can use it for more than that. So we all start somewhere, and that's how we learn from our mistakes. True. Let's see. Settings. For the most part, Viewport Render uses the current viewport settings. Some settings are located in the render panel of the render engine that is used for to render the view. I'll probably start off simple, like low poly stuff, because I do question my own hardware with OBS on. Now, probably without OBS I could probably make something a lot more detailed, but with OBS on I do feel like I may be limited to a few things. I don't know how much. I don't have the best hardware, nor can I afford anything better at the current time. I've been tempted to like maybe make a GoFundMe for to upgrade my computer, but I don't think that'll get anywhere at the current time. Solid mode uses render settings of Workbench. Material preview mode uses the render settings of Eevee. I see this Eevee and it makes me immediately think of Pokemon. I don't know why it's called like this. Like, I could already hear the boy on the back of my head when I read this. Of which, I saw a trailer of a Pokemon-like game with guns and crafting. What was it called? Power World or something like that? I am looking forward to that game, but unfortunately I can't even run that. It definitely looks like it would be fun for me. I mean, I would enjoy it. I don't know if it'll attract any viewers, but I feel like I would have fun on that game. Sampling and alpha transparency mode option can be set in properties render sampling. Make sure the Workbench or Eevee render engine is selected to see the appropriate values. Had you joined your Discord server, so you missed a few seconds. Don't worry about it. I did kind of start a tiny bit late since I was eating, and I was also at one point I had to go take a look at the baby because it came back from after having its vaccines and he's a bit moody. And my baby brother right now is being a bit moody because of vaccines. Additionally, some render settings are used too. Render dimensions, render aspects, file format and output, file path format, compression settings, etc. How many languages do you know? Currently just two. My main language, Spanish, and my second language, English. I do hope to one day learn another language, maybe more along the lines probably Japanese. But I haven't really decided, nor have I like found like the time to go to do that, since I'm busy trying to survive pretty much. Like I'm unemployed, I'm looking for a job, and I still need to make ends meet somehow. Not to mention while trying to maintain my channel. I lost track, I think. Alright, I was right here. Rendering. Activating viewport render will render from the current active view. This means that if you're not in an active camera view, then the virtual camera is used to match the current perspective to get a image from the camera viewpoint, programming point of view. Enter the active camera view with number pad 0, which I'll probably remap this or use some different method because that number pad is tied to my models, like my PNG's expression of my current model. So that's why you speak so silently when reading my English text. Sometimes. Like, there will be words I struggle with. I've already found on this documentation some words I couldn't even pronounce. Sometimes I just do it to not intervene with whatever's happening on screen or when my friend's talking. Like, I guess I kind of got used to it. Kind of habit maybe I need to change. As with normal render, you can abort it with escape. Render a still image. To render a still image, use 3D viewport viewport render image. Render an animation, of which that's gonna be way down the line. I'm not gonna look into anything just yet. Like the Fortress mechanic. Then Cardinal I can read, but the other ones Denal. I cannot pronounce that one as before Cardinal actually. Fortress, I think that's properly pronounced. Although that's not a word I'm familiar with. Render keyframe. To render an animation, but only those frames that have a keyframe, use 3D viewport render keyframe. This only renders those frames from which the selected objects have animation keys. The other frames are still written to the output, but will simply repeat the last render frame. I knew you couldn't use that line from Nouvellette. Wait, that's actually a line from Nouvellette? Okay, I don't think I've heard that line yet. Since I haven't played the Fontaine story yet, I probably haven't heard that, because from his idle lines, I don't think I've heard that before yet. Unless I need to go into the menu part and listen to it from there. For example, when a 6 frame animation is rendered and the selected object has a keyframe on the third and fifth and on frames 3 and 5, the following frames will be output. First frames is always rendered. The first frame is repeated because there is no keyframe on the second one. Third frame is rendered. Third frame is repeated because there's no keyframe on the fourth one. The fifth frame is rendered, and on the sixth, the fifth one is repeated. Hello there, Galaxy Girl. How you doing? It's 4 a.m. I woke up at 1 a.m. I slept at 8. It's too early to be making me laugh so much. Why are you doing up so early? Shouldn't be asleep at that time? I know sometimes I stream around that time on my time zone. Like right now, it is 11:12 p.m. right now. You woke up at 1. You went to sleep at 8. You got roughly 5 hours of sleep, which... So, I guess it's okay. You did get some rest from that. Yeah, I don't wanna miss Jim's stream or yours. So... Oh, thank you. But do prioritize your health, please. And okay, that's it for the rendering part, and I already jumped into the image editor. I think if I don't already have something to make on Blender by next Tuesday, so I'll probably start this. But if I get any suggestions of what to do on Blender, whether it be through the comment sections of the video that this will be uploaded separately, or on my Discord channel's art section, then I'll probably just end up going through this image editor part. But hopefully by next time I can already start making something to start practicing. Tell me your backstory, how did you become a dragon? First let me close off this section so I can stop the recording for the YouTube. So, little quick YouTube outro. Like I said before, I'm new to Blender. I've never used it before. I have no idea what I'm doing. I know I'll probably understand more once I actually start making something. I just don't know what would be the best option to practice before I start getting into some more complex stuff, like making characters or like highly detailed objects or something along those lines. So any suggestions is welcome, will be in the comments below or over on my Discord, of which links to it down in the description below. And yeah, that is gonna be it for this video. Thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed it, maybe learned something from what I was reading, and I hope to see you all next time. Bye bye!